USA Rare Earth Inc. is currently priced at $24.77 USD, representing a gain of 2.06 or about 9.07% as of the market close on Friday, January 23, 2026. Since today is Sunday, January 25th, the market is currently closed, and this figure reflects the most recent active trading session. While a 9% jump is usually enough to get any trader reaching for their phone, the real story here isn't just a daily green candle, it is the massive shift in the underlying narrative of who actually owns this company. While many investors were waiting for a typical mining update, the reality that hit the wire this weekend is a massive $1.6 billion investment from the federal government for a 10% stake in the company. This isn't just another grant or a loan. It is the government effectively becoming a partner in a way that suggests they view this specific company as a critical piece of national infrastructure. This creates a fascinating tension because the stock has more than doubled this month alone, yet the official government entry price is reportedly around $17.17 per share. That puts the current market price well above where the biggest hands are buying in, which always forces a rethink of the risk-to-reward ratio for those of us watching from the outside. Common wisdom in the mining sector says that you avoid pre-revenue companies because the cash burn will eventually lead to massive dilution. That is the expectation. But the reality for USA Rare Earth is that they are bypassing the traditional cycle of desperate capital raises by securing $1.3 billion in senior secured debt financing alongside the equity stake. This is a total of $2.6 billion in fresh capital when you factor in the private financing led by Cantor Fitzgerald. If you've been spending time on investing sites or using the Robinhood app to look for small-cap runners, you've likely seen the volatility. But this move effectively de-risks the project in a way that typical self-investing strategies rarely account for. Most retail traders are busy looking at Tesla stock or Nvidia stock for their daily momentum, but the institutional activity here is starting to look like a concentrated effort to build a domestic supply chain that is entirely independent of global competitors. It's the kind of move that makes a Fidelity brokerage or an Interactive Brokers account look like a front-row seat to a massive industrial pivot. The intraday movement on Friday was a classic example of buying the rumor before the news officially broke over the weekend. We saw the stock open at $23.69 and hit a high of $25.27, with volume ballooning to over 26 million shares. That is more than double the average daily volume, suggesting that the smart money was already positioning itself for a major announcement. When you see this kind of institutional loading, it usually means the expectation of a simple project update is being replaced by the reality of a fundamental change in the company's valuation. While many users on a Robinhood trading platform might just see a ticker that is up 100% in a month and think they missed the boat, the technicals show the 50-day moving average is still way back at $15.26. This gap creates a sense of vertigo for short-term traders, but for those focused on online investing for the long haul, the question is whether the government's $17.17 buy-in price acts as a floor, or if the market will pull back to meet it. If you are using a Fidelity mobile app or tracking your portfolio through Schwab Intelligent Portfolios, you know that the macro environment for materials has been brutal. High interest rates usually crush mining companies because they need so much upfront capital. However, USA Rare Earth is breaking that mold. They recently selected Fluor and WSP as their partners to handle the engineering and construction for the Round Top mine in Texas. This is a huge deal because it moves the project from the maybe category into the execution phase. They have accelerated their production timeline by 2 years, now aiming for late 2028. This tension between the long wait for production and the immediate surge in stock price is where most investors get lost. They see the 52-week high of $43.98 and compare it to the 52-week low of $5.56, realizing that while the stock is up significantly, it is still nowhere near its previous peaks. This suggests that the market is still debating what a domestic rare earth monopoly is actually worth. Comment below how many shares of USAR you currently hold, or if you are waiting for a pullback before entering. To understand why this is happening now, we have to look at what USA Rare Earth actually does. They aren't just a mining company. They are trying to build what they call a mine-to-magnet supply chain. This means they want to dig the ore out of the ground in Sierra Blanca, Texas, process it in Colorado, and then turn it into the permanent magnets used in electric vehicles and defense systems at their facility in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's a vertically integrated model that is extremely rare. Most companies just dig and sell the raw concentrate to someone else. By keeping the whole process in-house, they are positioning themselves to capture the margin at every step. This is likely why the French government also stepped in recently to support their expansion into Europe. It's a rare case where the reality of the business model is actually more ambitious than the market narrative surrounding it. For those who use SoFi Invest or look for investment help to find hidden gems, this transition from a speculative explorer to a government-backed industrial player is the ultimate catalyst. Looking ahead, the catalysts for 2026 are already lining up. We have the expected launch of the magnet plant in Oklahoma and the commissioning of the processing facility in France later this year. The risk, of course, is that mining projects are notoriously famous for delays. If the reality of the construction schedule falls short of the current expectations, the stock could easily give back these gains. We are also seeing a lot of activity in the options market, with heavy call buying suggesting that traders are betting on even higher prices as we head into February. If you're managing an individual brokerage account or using a SoFi active investing strategy, you have to weigh this momentum against the fact that the company still reports zero revenue and significant quarterly losses. They lost over $150 million in the most recent quarter, which is a staggering amount for a company of this size. But with the government's $1.6 billion coming in, the going concern risk that haunts most small-cap miners has essentially vanished overnight. The expectation was that this company would have to scrape for every dollar of funding. The reality is they have just been handed a massive war chest that allows them to move faster than any of their peers. This is why you see the stock outperforming Apple stock or the general S&P 500 by such a wide margin this year. It isn't about the current earnings, it's about the scarcity of the asset they control. The Round Top deposit is one of the few places in the world where you can find heavy rare earths like dysprosium and terbium outside of restricted zones. For a self-investing individual, this is a clear play on deglobalization. If you're using interactive brokers tools to look at the bid-ask spreads, you can see that the liquidity is improving, which usually precedes more institutional interest. When big funds start looking at a stock, they don't care about a 10% daily move. They care about whether the company will own the market in 5 years. For those who use online investment platforms like Robinhood Crypto or Fidelity Wealth Management, the high volatility of USAR is both a feature and a bug. The historical volatility is over 120%, which means you have to have a stomach for 10% swings in either direction on a Tuesday morning. But the expectation of a domestic supply chain is no longer just a talking point for politicians. It has been backed by billions of dollars in hard cash. This creates a situation where the reality of the company's balance sheet has fundamentally changed, while the market is still trying to figure out how to price that in. If the stock pulls back toward that $17 level, it would represent the market essentially saying the government got a fair deal. But if it stays above $25, it means the market thinks the government actually got a bargain. As we look toward the next earnings report in February, the focus shouldn't be on the profit and loss statement because we already know there is no revenue. The focus should be on the management's commentary regarding the integration of this new government funding and how quickly they can break ground on the Texas mine. If they can show that the accelerated timeline is realistic, the expectation of a pre-revenue gamble will continue to shift toward the reality of a strategic national asset. This is the kind of insight that separates those who just trade on news from those who understand the structural shifts in the market. Whether you're using a SoFi trading platform or a Fidelity trading platform, the key is to look past the daily noise and see the massive infrastructure being built. In summary, the story of USA Rare Earth is a perfect example of expectations being completely recalibrated by a reality that few saw coming. The expectation was a slow, difficult road to funding a massive mining project. The reality is a $2.6 billion capital injection and a partnership with the most powerful government on the earth. This contrast has sent the stock up 9% in a single day,